Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm in the UK, so it's good evening. This, I think, may well be my last post or upload to YouTube. I know one has said this before over the years, 5 years now, of various uploads and postings, etc. One has tried to remain calm, uplifting, supportive, and I will always try to do that. But I think what I'm going to say may upset some people, and it probably will upset some people. But I think we have reached the crux and the worry and the concern and the end of what we say now. We need to speak and be open, but with fact and truth and integrity. These are my opinions, nobody else's, and should not be taken as insults by anyone else with differing opinions. One has watched over the last few years the twists and turns of the world, the politics of the world, the intertwining of politics and religion. These are things I thought I would never talk about on here. It is not the best place to do it. But where does one do it? Because when one tries to write about factual experiences, using words that are part of real history, they are removed by YouTube all the time. And they always have been, but now we can see how much worse it is than it ever was before. Since the change in government, I shall use my words carefully, and in my opinion, allegedly for YouTube. But boy, am I angry. Over here across the pond, and many that I know here are angry, and many, many in Europe are angry, and in the Commonwealth, everywhere. We are angry, we are disgusted, we are frightened for the people across the pond who are now living under an oligarchy. Yes, I've said it. It's an oligarchy. I do try to research a lot. I've often said that. And I have always done that all my life. Because political history is one of my real interests. Real interests. I remember my father and his generation fighting in World War II against fascism and Nazis. Yes, I have said the word Nazi, YouTube. And what disgusts me the most is that when one tries to write a comment about the word Nazi, it is removed. People are putting extra consonants or vowels in front of that word so that it blurs into a smorgasbord of nothingness, and it takes away what is meant and what happened. And that is an utter, utter disgrace. We have seen Mr. Musk twice now, if not 3 times, doing the Nazi salute, particularly in the last couple of days, in which he did it twice. And I have seen many channels on YouTube debating whether it is or it isn't a Nazi salute or Roman salute. Well, if you know any Germans and any English or anyone in Europe, and we all still live with the remembrance of what happened in that time, way more in the beginning, I'm afraid to say, than any other country, apart from the Commonwealth countries as well, of course, who fought by our side from the beginning. We know what Nazism is, and we know what that hand signal Musk did is, and what it means. People are trying to make it into something like, well, is it this or is it that, or he didn't mean it. No, he meant it. My father and his era, if you like, fought in World War II. Some of whom marched at the end of the war into concentration camps and liberated people in there. And yes, we talk about the millions and millions of Jewish people who were annihilated. But there were other people too who were annihilated, and that is not to take away from the Jewish people. It is to do with the fact what some people don't seem to understand now, because they haven't actually really done any research. They rely on Google and Wikipedia and lazy ways of researching things. In Germany, this Nazi salute, yes, I've said it, Nazi salute, is illegal. And you can be put in prison for it. Across Europe, you can be arrested for it. In the UK, it is considered a hate crime. Some attempt it, but often, more than not, are arrested immediately for it. Mr. Musk grew up during the apartheid years, and I remember those years, as do my generation. So do not be fooled for one moment about his antics, flailing of arms and stupidity, supposed comedic antics that he does, because he knows what he's doing. He grew up and was nurtured in that era in South Africa. He is Afrikaans. This is just my opinion, of course. YouTube. As I say, in Germany, this is an illegal act. And our fathers, as I've said, fought against it. One of my dearest friends, who has now passed, was a small child with her siblings in Auschwitz, experimented on by Nazis. And I will never forget the stories that she told me, and how she lived with the hideous disabilities all her life. But you know what she did? She brought warmth, humour, and understanding to me, and taught me so much about real humanity. Do not think you have 4 years of this, because unless you unite together, and the rest of us all unite with you against this will be your life now, as we had to fight in those many, many years ago. A little bit of history for those who may not be aware, and I do not mean to be condescending. This is just fact. Again, fact. And it is on the UK Parliament website, should you wish to look into it further. We had something called the Magna Carta, which was issued in June 1215 and was the first document to put into writing the principle that the king or ruler and his government was not above the law. It sought to prevent the king or ruler, my opinion, from exploiting his power and place limits of royal authority by establishing law as a power in itself. In 2015, the Houses of Parliament, along with the people of the UK, commemorated 300 years since the sealing of Magna Carta. The first version of the Magna Carta was issued in 1215 at Runnymede, an otherwise obscure field lying next to the Thames in Berkshire between Windsor and Staines. Charters granting rights and liberties to individuals and groups were issued by lords throughout society, including the king, or in brackets, my words, ruler. They were written records of someone's action and were authenticated with a wax seal. Although its form was normal for the time, Magna Carta was the product of political crisis and an uprising of the leading of men of England. The UK had the Magna Carta because a group of rebel barons forced the then King John to sign it in 1215 as a way to limit his absolute power and address grievances like excessive taxation, arbitrary conduct, and denial of justice, effectively establishing the principle that even the king or ruler was subject to the law and could not rule without the consent of his subjects or people. This document became a cornerstone of English legal system and has influenced many other legal systems around the world, including America. I pause there for a moment as I think, to be honest. Robber barons. Does that ring a bell with anybody? That's up to you to decide and research. But may we all differ from robber barons who think themselves examples of survival of the fittest as they make the earth more barren. My last words are, and this, again, we need to unite those of us who believe in supporting and looking after each other. Humanity matters. Whoever saves one life, saves the world entire. It's Zach Stern. to Oskar Schindler. So if I have offended you by this upload, that is for you to decide. But those are my words and my opinions under the terms and conditions of YouTube, and as a citizen in the UK and of the world who watches and listens rather than posts more now than they once did. So take care, look after each other. Much love, Carrie Pink.